And good afternoon, everyone. All about the gyro here. And as promised, the second video, and that is announcing what we are going to race in season one of the 2021 iRacing calendar. Now, I was waiting for some updates before finalizing what the schedule was. Those updates are now here, posted by Greg West of iRacing. This is from the actual forums. The first big announcement restatement that IMSA is moving up to B license, but both the Audi and the Mercedes are no longer in the series. They're still being retained for VRS. Instead, they're going to be adding the Huracan in a couple weeks, followed by the BMW M4 GT3. This is a major change. There are quite a few people that are going, well, why didn't you move the Ferrari GTE to GT3? And, why you're taking away the Merc? And I just spent all this money to buy it, and now you're changing it. The expected salt has come out. Same thing that happened with the IRR1. Here's my take on this. Folks must understand IMSA this year is trying to generate excitement. They have talked openly, and I believe they are doing it, about allowing the LMP3 cars to come in because they need to fill out the field. They need to generate excitement. You have two brand new GT3 cars, and you can't run the R8 in the AMG, which has been around for quite a while now, in a series that's going through a change. So I wasn't too surprised about the Audi R8 going away from IMSA. The Merc did catch me out, but it makes sense. Now, there are some saying, well, GTE is dying. Well, GTE is not dying yet. Eventually, you will have the Le Mans hypercar, um, which will, I think, consume GTE or GTLM, as some people know it. And on the service, it's so popular. Very hard for iRacing to take away one of the uh, four GTE options, um, because the 488 GTE is a very approachable car to drive. The Porsche is popular, and it's still being driven, even though they're not officially factory now. Proton Motorsports did buy the 911 and 912 car. Of course, the Vet is the Vet. And you also have the BMW M8, which is, now that you have the M4, you're going to keep the BMW M8 in some way, shape, and form. Um, so yeah, you are going to likely have this. My personal view on it, and I'll show you this here if it lets me. No, it does not, because it's already changed a week. But this makes sense for the service. The interesting thing is, for the first couple of weeks, it's going to be like a spec formula series in GT3. Once the BMW comes out, it's going to be very interesting because the M4 is a front engine car. The Huracan is very similar to the R8. Not identical, though, but similar. And thus, Um, IMSA is getting that excitement that it needs to have. And they've needed to bolster the GT3 fields because that division, which is the one that I raced in, at times had like 9 cars. I think our Suzuka race had 9 in it. They needed to do something. But if that is not enough, then they dropped the next bomb. In VRS, both for Sprint and Enduro, there is no longer the Z4. It is now Legacy. Z4 hasn't been raced in a while. The Z4 has been a bit OP. And so now, with the BMW M4 coming online, it makes sense to sunset this. That explains why the Ford GT3 had so many changes to it. Be very interesting to see how that played out. So the Huracan is going in for the BMW. So now, or for the Huracan's a net add. The M4 is going in at the Z4. So that right there, very interesting. And now you have 7 GT3 cars. And with all the changes made, I think you're going to have a lot better racing. Clearly, focus on the GT3 with the competition that ACC has been bringing. But then this third one, and as major as the first 2 are, the third one really made me stand up and take notice. Now, before I get to that, I'm actually going to address number 4. The ILMS and the ELMS is being renamed the European Sprint and European Endurance Series. It's just a name change. I think they're trying to get some parallelism with VRS. That way, you make it attractive for future sponsors. No car changes in that, from what I've gathered. So you'll still have the 4 GTEs, the 2 LMP1s, and then the Delara LMP2. Final part. This one blows my mind. The new Formula IR car is going to start a C license. It's going to be 200 kilometers in length. That's 125 miles. Track specific custom competitive setups. And they are saying this car is significantly more approachable. And our testing showed it should make for great racing at the C license level. This is the giant question mark. Already people are like, why is this at C? It should have been at B. It should be this. It should be that. My view on it is I think they're trying to get a baseline on this, and has definitely given me some major food for thought. So what does this mean for myself and by proxy the channel? Well, we've had a great first season. We ended up with a 3rd in our division in Spec Racing Ford and a 4th in IMSA GT3. And as per usual, we have brought back our friend the PDF because of all the news, there is now a need to see kind of how the dust settles for things. Also, I need to improve my consistency. I had a very rough vein of form after I hit 1417 that I need to dig myself out of. So, with no further delay, here is what we're going to be driving. We are going to compete in 3 different cars in 4 different championships. The first is a return to the Spec Racer 4 Challenge. Great community. The fact that I will move up at least 1 division means I want to see how much I have grown as a driver, and the only way to do it is to do this series again. The schedule, as you see, is definitely diverse. You have a very nice starter, free circuit to get everyone interested in the series. But then Bathurst and Suzuka, those are long circuits in this car. But then they do Zandvoort and Lime Rock, so 2 technical circuits. Then they go back to Road America, which actually didn't race as bad as I thought it would. I had said on the forums, I don't know about this. But now that I've raced it, I'm satisfied with how that car raced, and I think it's a sufficient challenge. Then we have the Roval, then we have Monza, the junior layout, which I think will be very approachable. Fast laps, but approachable. Then Imola, Montreal, Laguna Seca, and the club layout at Sebring. This is an excellent schedule for Spec Racer Ford, and I'm hoping that I'll have a couple more drop results, and we'll see what happens in my new division. The second car we're going to be racing is our beloved Cayman 718. We're going to do a full series of the pilot with the new changes in the multi-class alignment. I think this series may take some precedence. Because even though, for example, the Ferrari 488 GT3 Challenge is still in D, having this multi-class available is a big plus. And looking at this from a Porsche point of view, I expect Spa and Bathurst to be a bit of a challenge. I expect Watkins Glen, Oulton Park to be more friendly to the Porsche. We will be skipping week 5. We don't have the Legacy Silverstone circuit. That's a $5 charge for the only time in any of my schedules to race it. That's just not smart money. Montegi is definitely a Porsche track, but Daytona, I think the BMWs are going to have some horsepower. But Okayama, Zolder, Sonoma for sure, definitely Porsche. I'd be curious to see how week 12 turns out. The BMW might have a little bit of an edge on the backside, but that circuit is twisty enough to where the Porsche will come in. And of course, Interlagos, where the Great Compromise circuit from turn 4 all the way to the last corner is Porsche friendly, but everything in between is the BMW with the Senna S in between. So I'm looking forward to driving in that. I really like the Cayman, especially after all the Zolder stuff, and looking forward to entering a new championship in earnest. We did race a couple times when we first started, but this is going to be our first honest attempt at the IMPC. Now, ignore what the PDF tells you. They have not yet updated it. That's why I showed you the road racing stuff. So we know the Merc and the Audi are gone, but what we're concerned about is we're going to be racing GTE and IMSA, also in ILMS. And we are going to be racing the Porsche 911 RSR in both. I'm very excited to drive this car. I really started to grow into this car. This is the car that Mountain Trout Racing Concerns we used for the spa. Right now, there is a little discussion about LMP2 for the endurance races. I have not driven a downforce car of any kind, and that is something that I may need to do to come to grips with that. But with that said, let's look at the calendar. Boot, Montegi, and Imola definitely, I think, are Porsche friendly. Le Mans, we know we're going to struggle at. Porsche is not a very fast car. It's known for cornering and good brakes. Silverstone, we know Porsche was fantastic there. Daytona road course. Now notice in the schedule here, it's week 6. You're going to see in ILMS, it's week 5. And the reason is week 7 is the Daytona 24 hours. I am hopeful that I will get to drive the 911. We'll see how that plays out. But Daytona, I'll have a good idea after week 5 of ILMS how this car is really going to go. Suzuka, I think a very balanced circuit. Same thing for Interlagos. I think a very balanced circuit. I think Porsche will do well at both. Monza, we're going to be down on power. For Road America, I think we're going to be down on power. Spa, I think we're going to be down on power. But Sebring, which I haven't drove a lot on, I don't know yet. But I could see Sebring being a crapshoot. So it's going to be interesting. It depends on how the BOP is done. But right now, Porsche is pretty good car on BOP. Lastly, the ILMS. So one of the main goals is obviously keep a license. And we're going to really be focusing on the 911 here as well. We're going to find out immediately how that car is a Sebring. Kind of a similar schedule to IMSA, so I'm not going to go through all of it. I just want to draw your attention to week 5, 6, and 7. Because of the Daytona 24, week 7, they put the long format of the Nürburgring. They're expecting attendance to be down. We will be missing week 7 for sure of this series. We might be missing week 6. We'll see how it plays out. But the rest of it is very similar to what you saw in the IMSA schedule. And then, of course, there's the endurance series right there. So that's about it. Basically, in recap, we're going to race the SRF. We're going to race the 718 and the 911, all tail happy cars for the 21S1 schedule. And we will be having our own personal livery for the Porsches. I'm very excited to debut to that for all of you next week. Anyway, that's about it. About 20 minutes. That's all I really wanted to get through. Take care, everybody, and I will see you online.